Hello and good evening. It is Thursday, September 30th, 2021. And we didn't just finish watching the second episode of Survivor Season 41. That was last night, Wednesday, September 29th. But we're just getting started here on Super Mater Brothers Podcasting, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Or you might be listening to us in the audio version after the fact. I'm Dave Mater, joined with my brother Jeff Mater and co-host Jaemeel Robinson to break this all down. As mentioned, this was last night. We've been covering Big Brother season 23 on Super Mater Brothers podcasting for 12 weeks, and that finished last night. The 2-hour finale of Big Brother 23 happened right after the Survivor, the second episode of Survivor, which we're going to be discussing now. So that's why we're here a day later. I was also not here for the first episode of Survivor 41. Jaemeel and Jeff covered that last week, although I did throw in some comments and some of my thoughts. But we're here to talk about this second episode, and the headline at this hour is that Vochi gets voted out in this episode unceremoniously 3-1. Thought he was going the distance. Thought he was going to be that he was going to do the neurosurgery right to the end, but it was not meant to be. And Vochi goes out as the Yasi tribe opts to not vote out Tiffany, and instead votes out Vochi.
The Yasi tribe,
the Yas Queen. I'm curious to know Jameel's take on this. Jaemeel, do you think that this was the right move for the Yasi tribe, considering that a swap or some kind of a draft or like a tribe swap or something might be on the horizon?
Swap or nothing. Tiffany is an awful player, and the fact that she's still in the game and Vochi isn't, who did nothing wrong, gets just voted out because he's a stray body.
Jaemeel, he had a penis, and that's why he got. Honestly, it's sad, but that's why he got voted out tonight. You know.
Well, yeah. So this tribe of 6, which also originally included Abraham as of last week, so they started off with 3 guys and 3 ladies, but they voted out Abraham in the first tribal, and then the women had the numbers here. And basically, it was also the fact that Xander, the other member of this tribe, he had advantages and potentially would have had an immunity idol. Had the other tribes found their immunity idols and done the catchphrase or whatever, the secret phrase. But they were too afraid to vote out Xander. Tiffany really pushed for that. She's like, no, Vochi. Let's get out Vochi now. And so Jaemeel, Vochi was taken second overall in our draft by you. But don't worry, you still have 2 left. You still have Xander. No, that's Jimmy. That's Daryl has Xander. You have Jeannie and Heather left.
The worry was that Heather was the worst player in the game. Whoa, was I ever wrong? Tiffany is a mess, a straight up mess.
Yeah, and just to break down this whole episode, because it was 24 hours ago, so I did take notes. And let's just kind of run through everything that happened leading up to this this somewhat surprising tribal council, I thought, with the fact that Vochi went here. But we can kind of talk about it. So there was kind of like check-ins with all our 3 tribes to start off the episode last night before the credits. Starting with the Green tribe, the Yua tribe. Brad was running around like almost Tony-esque, Jeff. He saw that JD, was it JD, and who was the other person?
Rick Shaw, whatever his name is.
Rickard. Oh yeah, it was JD and Rickard were going for Rick Shaw himself. They were.
I don't even like him that much, so I don't care.
Do you know how I throw shade at Rickard? Like this.
Come on in, guys.
That's
our guy count for this episode is 2.
Are you trying to say that you wouldn't want to share a Rickard's Red with Rickard?
I would not. You would not be my type of people.
But did you all catch that? 2 guys. 2 guys.
2 guys. 2 guys.
Two guys from Jeff. Yeah,
Probes. Yeah. When did he say guys? I didn't know. I did not know this.
At tribal, he said it twice. He said it when he was referring to everyone, and then also when he was specifically talking to Xander. So
right,
that doesn't count, but
Rickard wasn't there, so there was nobody to be offended.
He's like, you guys are cool.
Yeah. He's like,
Yeah, but yeah, just to back to this whole thing where JD and Rickard go on this little walk to the water thing, and then so Brad comes up with this plan. I can go the other way, and I can get to where they're going faster if I hustle. He tells the other members of the tribe, including Shan, about this, and basically, like, he's able to get in position by the water well and listen to their conversation, and they are discussing him. But so at first I thought this was kind of a smart thing he was doing. However, I think the fact that he told Chantel and I guess who else is on that tribe, Sarah and
Sarah's
Jeannie.
gone. Sarah's gone.
Oh, Sarah's gone. So Jeannie.
I don't think he told Jeannie. It was mostly Chantel.
Chantel,
the snitch.
She was she was not impressed with Brad too much. And so yeah, she ratted him out. And then so Rickard's like, we're going after Brad. Brad will be next.
Whatever.
We'll see. They didn't end up going to tribal in this episode, so it wasn't an issue. But Brad might be on the hit list. Over at the Blue Tribe, also known as Luvu, Deshaun was having a hard time making a fire, if you can remember. And he was like, "I'm not good at this."
Well, he was practicing with the wrong tools at home.
Yeah.
First off. And then secondly, he just generally sucks at it. 13 hours.
Wasn't too good.
I think the show is showing us, look, these are not experienced players. This is not winners at war. Don't expect winners at war. These people are kind of numbskulls when it comes to Survivor. And, then they're gonna learn. This is the second episode. We're not getting, this might be one of the worst starts to a season that we're going to get because it's going to move very fast. We're not going to learn a lot of these characters right away. And they're just going to be here and gone a lot faster than normal. So I think the show's kind of trying to tell us, get used to it. That's how I take it anyway.
Yeah, I think so. How long do you think Nasir was letting Deshaun struggle making that fire before he jumped in?
All day. Let
Yeah.
let him. Once again, he's smart. Don't jump in.
Again, we get a little background though, Dave, about Nasir. That's this guy's lives the game of Survivor.
Yeah,
he had to survive in Sri Lanka, where
he lived in Sri Lanka and his lifestyle there doesn't seem that different than having to live on this island in Survivor. Really, maybe save for a couple things, but he has obviously no technology whatsoever and no means of getting to civilization. But
technically, you don't know that he had no technology. He just didn't have electricity and running water.
No, I just say now he doesn't have the technology. I thought I would assume he would have access to maybe electricity in some places or running water. I don't know. I don't really know enough about Sri Lanka to say or where he grew up or anything like that. But
I just looked it up. Do you know where Sri Lanka is? I never actually looked up.
It's off the coast of India, isn't it?
Yeah, it's right at the southern tip of India. It's a big island. I never knew where it was, but wow, it's pretty cool actually.
Yeah, so they're a separate country from India, but they have some similarities. I think
they're East Indian.
Yeah, right, and
West Indian.
Yeah, and so Nasira, who was getting targeted in the first episode, who was my draft pick, I was a little bit worried for him after the first episode that he was playing too hard. He had noticed that I think it was Danny and who was the other one? Maybe it was Deshaun. They had kind of paused in the first episode from doing the challenge, the water challenge, the sweat one, to kind of look for idols, and he kind of told the other members of the tribe. And again, the women players in the tribe were similar to how Shan reacted to Brad's play. They were like, this guy's got to go. He's playing too hard, too fast. We don't like it. It's not subtle. You guys, any reactions to that?
I'm kind of blown away by what they think is too hard, too fast. It's like the person just observed something happening and told you. Too hard, no. What are you doing? This is too much information too early. This is day 2. 2 people are going to be gone in a day, but too hard, too fast. Please.
Well, yeah, I don't disagree with you that I don't understand the reaction totally, but they were, it could just come from a place of if I can't remember which member of Luvu reacted like that exactly. It wasn't Erica. It was maybe Sydney.
Yeah, I think it was Sydney.
Sydney.
Sydney seems like, yeah, she's kind of like the Shan of the Blue Tribe. And she's just like, no, I'm not putting up with this. Or it could just come from a place of like, I'd rather work with Danny than Nasir. And if Nasir is going to target Danny, then I'm going to tell Danny so that he doesn't target me. And then Danny can maybe get out Nasir first, etc. Or maybe not. She just didn't want to play that fast on day one while they're building a shelter. It's hard to say, but Nasir's looking up. His stock is going up, and that's what is the good part for me. I'm really liking him in this thing. He was killer in this challenge. Like it comes up later too. Like the way he dove into that water, I was just like, yes, Nasir, go.
Yes, he dove into the water like people who dive into water do.
He like dove properly. It wasn't like a Tiffany dive.
Oh, so you're comparing Tiffany to Nasir now?
I can't compare them.
Well, I'm like, you're like, he's so amazing. You're really just using her as a benchmark of like
as bad as can get.
Yeah, she's awful. So he could just be good, but like you're saying, like, oh my gosh.
Well, he's making himself. He looks amazing in relative to some of these other players on this season. Let's talk about the Yellow Tribe because they were also coming off of their whole. Like they had voted somebody else. They voted out Abraham and Green had voted out Sarah, as I had forgot about. And so the thing with the Yellow Tribe mostly was about Xander finding this like hidden immune. Well, he found this thing and it was like this, whatever this is, if you open it, you have to deal with it. You have to, whether it's good or bad, whatever it is. But once you open it, it remains. And so it was sort of an advantage, but it's also sort of a disadvantage because what it is that there's a hidden immunity idol at each of the 3 camps, and they all have to be found by somebody there. And then once all 3 of them activate it, then they have this power, right? What was just trying to remember if what were the full.
They had 3 different lines.
3 different lines.
Yes.
Yeah, they had to, and and it only works with someone, all 3 tribes, having to say a secret phrase at the challenge to convert the idols in power. So he says the phrase, but everybody, even on the tribes who aren't his, kind of know that something is up when he says that, because nobody would say. What was the catchphrase? Like my dead relatives talk to butterflies. Like was that like kind of a Pauly Calafiore reference from Big Brother?
He got the worst of the 3 phrases, by the way. Like I would have wanted the goat with the AstroTurf one. It just my legs hurt, like I would have said or something like that, and then that's better. But like when he
has the broccoli in the trees one.
Yeah, the broccoli are little trees or whatever. Like that one's a little like maybe the second worst, but the one he has is by far the worst. It's like. The butterfly, like he literally sounds like a crazy person. Like everyone just looked at him and went like, what? There's
no way you would say that without being prompted to say that. Like is kind of what everybody seems to take from it.
Here's my issue with it. He says it the first time. How are you going to say it a second time?
Is he going to have to say it a second time?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't do it on the first tribal. The first thing. Don't say it in the first one.
Yeah, well, they're 4 or 5 days in at this point, and so he Nasired into the water. I like that one. Yeah, and so just about the Yellow Tribe, but the whole thing with him was while he has this now, he opened it, and now he has to wait for the Blue and the Green tribes to find somebody there. Until then, he has no vote. He can't vote indefinitely, right?
Supposedly.
Which, in a game of numbers, in Survivor in particular, this is huge because they don't vote him out ultimately in this episode. Maybe even better because Vochi obviously can vote. So maybe that is the better. If you're going to vote at one of the 2.
3. I didn't understand the strategy at all from the Yellow Team. It made no sense.
Yeah. Okay. And let's talk about a little bit of Evie, right? Because it was looking like when he found the idol, he goes up to Evie and to Vochi. He goes, look, I have this power. And he kind of tells them that he has the extra vote from when he went to the summit in the first episode. And I was really like getting this feeling like, okay, Vochi, Evie, and Xander are going to be a trio. And I thought that this was looking like a really strong trio, but then it's not too. It's kind of torn down right away because Evie says, "No, I don't want to work with the guys. Really, I want to work with the ladies, and I don't want the women to get knocked off here. So I'm gonna form an alliance with them." But and who's the other woman in this tribe? Leanna, right? So it's Leanna and Tiffany. And I don't know, like, who would you rather work with?
Leanna and
Tiffany or Vochi and Xander if you're
Leanna, Evie, and Vochi.
I would just bring Leanna and Vochi in together. I don't know why it had to be one or the other. Why this whole idea? She's like, oh yeah, we're like, I agree in Big Brother this is the case, but like, oh, women never get credit at the end of Survivor. There's countless examples where women get the credit at the end, or the men are seen as like bullies, or you know. There's a bunch of times where that's occurred. It just happens that the last few seasons, the men have won a lot, and so this narrative, I think, is like, okay, we kind of like with the cookout. It was like, let's get out the guys. Like that's kind of the thing I'm kind of seeing here on Survivor, is let's take out men.
But here's the problem: Tiffany, unlike her Big Brother counterpart, is a moron, and
wait, who? Not Tiffany from the cookout.
Yes,
it's her counterpart.
Unlike her counterpart from Big Brother, this Tiffany is a moron, and is not thinking straight whatsoever. Like, why go with the nuclear option? If you're truly worried about Xander, why go with the nuclear option?
What do you mean? Like, what's the other option? Like,
she's worried about one vote. She's worried about one vote.
Yeah.
Right. But let's say she doesn't believe that Xander can't vote, and there's 2 votes. Right. Worst case scenario. Right. You do a 2-2 tie, and you have 1 stray vote.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the dynamics of what Evie's decision here was and how they ultimately voted. I do want to get down to, but like this idea, like, and you're saying, well, why not work with just the 2 smarter people from this tribe if you're Evie, in Leanna and Vochi?
I think sticking with Tiffany is just a bad decision long term. I think like she should have kept pulled Leanna in,
and she almost does.
She should have, and then voted out Tiffany, because worst case scenario, you could probably go to Vucci and go, hey, like, Xander's a liability. He's playing too hard. All right. I think we are the strongest from this team. He's going to be a liability, especially in a swap. Let's get rid of him now.
See, I don't think Xander's playing too hard. I think he's playing dumb. I think he's doing all the things you should do, but then he's like telling people that he doesn't even know if he can trust yet all of his secrets. Stupid.
And he clearly couldn't trust. Like, you know, he's talking to Evie and she's eating it up, you know, and clearly wasn't trustworthy. So that makes him bad at the game because he can't. I don't know how you tell when somebody's lying to you or not. Like, that's the thing I sometimes, when I watch this game, is like, if I was Xander, would I know that she's playing me here, or would I not know? I don't think I would know.
It's the lack of information, more importantly than the lying. You don't have to lie, right, all the time. You just don't need to divulge every single piece of information, because they weren't sure about him getting the extra vote, but he voluntarily gives up that information when it has no impact in the current situation in the game. He can't vote. It doesn't even matter.
You don't get, like, you know, trip aces, Dave, and go, I got aces. You know, that's not what you do. You know,
I think I think he was panicking because he got this thing where he lost his vote, right? And these are the 2 people he thinks he's working with in his tribe. And so he's like, guess what? I've lost my vote, but I have this extra vote from the summit, so it might balance itself out eventually or something. It's almost like he's trying to negotiate for his place in the game, because I think he's feeling incredibly vulnerable after this, because he doesn't know if green and blue are going to find their idols, and what that, you know, even if they do, like, he's maybe going to save himself for 1 vote or something like that. But in the meantime, him not being able to vote, I think he realizes makes him kind of not just expendable, but like pretty worthless. But on the other hand, maybe keep him around. And so
this is a game, Dave, where information and knowledge is power. And he's like, here you go, Evie. Here's all the information I've gathered working hard. And, and he's earned it. And he's giving all that power and information to a player he barely knows. I just, this is why you don't do this until jury. You don't give up what you have. I don't think, you don't.
I agree.
Don't tell you.
You're telling me next round.
Yeah.
If they lose again or when, wouldn't you vote out Xander? Like, I would have preferred to vote out Xander, knowing what I know about the idol, so I can search for it, and then know that I have it in my pocket. I don't have to open it up immediately. All I need to know is he doesn't have it, and I have it.
Yeah.
Right? I could still vote, or at that point, it would have been, you would have still the numbers advantage, right? Like, why?
I often think why do they cast people like Xander? Like, why do they cast these like dumb surfer dudes that like get on this show and just like don't even know at all how to play this game? Like, I don't know. It just confuses me. Like, can we get somebody like a little bit savvier? Like, I don't know. I get they try to like cast caricatures and stuff, but man, this guy's like Fabio.
He reminds me a little bit of Christian from Big Brother 23.
Girls love the curls.
Christian, I think, would have been smarter than to do this.
I think he pulls in a certain demographic, I believe.
Yeah.
Where every 5 minutes he'll put his hand through his hair, and yeah.
Remember, Xander is 20 years old. He's about 5 minutes older than my son, and maybe he's got like
5 minutes.
Well, my son's turning 19 tomorrow.
I know. I'm sorry.
He's like, I don't know. He's just kind of naive, I think, a little bit too. Is what he thinks that he can trust Vochi and Evie. And I think the other thing too was here that somehow Vochi and Xander seem to have formed a pretty tight bond, and I think that's ultimately why Evie doesn't try to like sway over one of them to vote the other out or whatever, or try to like.
But why does he have to divulge the information to both of them?
He doesn't have to. No,
he shouldn't have.
No, he should not have. But once the genie was out of the bottle, I don't know. It was kind of.
I don't know. If I'm Vochi, I watched this episode back last night. So I went home because Tiffany was paranoid. Like literally, that's the only reason I went home.
Yeah.
And like that's kind of like this is the thing that is bad about small tribes is one person goes, well, I want to work with girls, and then then it goes, well, and Xander might have an idol because there's one person in the girls, one of three, is going crazy and being paranoid, so we have to vote out the other guy. And that's why he went home tonight. And that's a terrible way to get voted out of one of these reality TV show games, I think. I'd be like, I want my money back. I you know what I mean? Like, I'd just be like, really? This is why I went home?
I just feel like the decision is ramifications are not gonna turn out well. And I think Evie might be able to get past it, but
yeah, I don't. We're going to see how this goes for her. But let's talk about the immunity / reward challenge that we got after this. So this was like you had to do like an obstacle course in the ocean, where the first member had to like unclip a key underwater, which seemed really hard. You had to like go underwater after this long swim for, I don't know. I think I could do it, but it seemed like I think Genie was for the green tribe, and a few of them, like it took them a couple times. Xander was for the yellow.
Xander and Sydney. Was it Sydney?
Was it Sydney for blue? Yeah, I think it was. And so like I think they all needed I think it was Sydney who like went under on the first dive and didn't like need to come up for air once, even though Xander did.
Why?
Yeah. Impressive there. And so that was kind of what was happening with that. But then like so that it was a relay race where the next person had to go. And eventually it got to and I forgot to mention what the prizes were. Fishing gear. But Jeannie was struggling for a bit, but I wrote this in my notes. But then I was like, scratch that out. Jeannie didn't struggle. Tiffany struggled.
Tiffany gave up.
Yeah. Tiffany gave up. She eventually gets like this cheer on, like, you can do it. Positive reinforcement. and she's able to finally do it. But it's like a really long time that she's seemingly on this beat.
When she's discussing it, she's like, maybe it took me a minute, maybe it took me 3 minutes. Like, yeah, keep going. I think you're heading in the right direction. That, in terms of like Survivor time, did not feel like it was just a minute or 3 minutes. It looked like she was there for a bit.
Now, do you like this whole thing that like Yellow had no flint the night before because they had lost that challenge in the first episode, and so like they said, we were up all night, we couldn't sleep because it's so cold, it's raining, we have no fire, we have no whatever, and so this is why part of the reason that she feels they lost or why she didn't perform well here.
They didn't lose because of that. They lost because they mismanaged their resources. There was no way in hell they should have thought that Tiffany doing that part of the race makes any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, that was stupid.
Right? You put her in the puzzle part, you hide her there, and you put her with Evie. Or
wait, there was an option not to put Tiffany in the relay part?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I thought everyone had to go through the relay, and then they did the no.
I think it was only 3 of them.
Yeah,
2 of them were
the
at the
other
puzzle.
2 did the puzzle.
Oh.
Well, she should definitely be on the puzzle.
That's what I'm talking about.
Should have been like Vochi, Leanna, and Xander doing the relay.
Yes.
Well, you saw how fast, like once Leanna could finally go, like after Tiffany was done after her 10-minute trek across that beam.
She was anchored.
It was like Leanna went last and was like a sprint, like one of the like an incredibly fast time, so fast that Yellow almost caught up here because Blue and Green had started on their puzzles many minutes ahead of Yellow, and so when Yellow got to go, like it was looking at like Blue finished first, and in 2 tribes won immunity this week. And then ultimately it comes down to hitting Green and Yellow but Green seems that was being done by Rickard and Ricard, as he's sometimes known. Yeah. Rickard's and so they end up winning that.
I just feel like you get through the relay, and even though you might have a weaker puzzle person, you need the time to look at the puzzle and start forming the pieces together. The puzzle does itself. If you have a rational person doing the majority of the work and the other person just hands you the pieces, right? Like you see who the main pieces are, the main people who are doing the puzzles, right? Tiffany had no business being on that ledge whatsoever. None.
No, she could have been the one handing pieces to whoever, I guess to Evie, who was kind of like the puzzle master here.
Yeah, so it was 3 people that did the relay and 2 people did the puzzle. And so the people doing the relay for Yellow, I'm just gonna get to it. Okay, the people doing the puzzle were Vochi and Evie. So Vochi should have been doing this relay, but he's a neurosurgeon.
So I'm good at puzzles.
And maybe he was the reason they screwed up the order here, and maybe that's all was left out of this cut, and was kind of maybe a reason they actually took him out,
Or maybe they shouldn't have voted out Abraham.
Well, maybe.
Is the other thing here because like there was what was the choice in the episode 1? It was Abraham or Tiffany.
I don't think Abraham would have helped in this challenge, though.
Either, yeah.
I think he would have got across that beam faster than Tiffany did.
But he shouldn't have had to do. Like Vochi,
don't have a big person like that do it. Yeah. Nasir is a lot more mobile, and he struggled with it. He didn't quit, mind you, but like,
he struggled a bit, even though he was such a great swimmer and a diver and everything. But some of the I get. Not everyone's gonna be good at everything too. But
like Jeannie also did it for the Green Tribe. Like she did the relay.
I thought she was slow until Tiffany did it.
Well, but like, why was she doing it? Like, why was Jeannie doing? She should have been on the puzzle too. Probably.
So Blue had the option of setting somebody out because they were up in numbers too, right? So they sat out Heather.
Yeah.
And then everyone else had to put 5 people in.
So basically what happened in the challenge was you had to swim out and get the key, swim back, and then they all...
No, not swim back. You had to swim forward.
Oh, yes. Sorry, yeah. So the first person, they should have sent Tiffany on the first swim to get the key. Now, that would have been bad too, though, because Tiffany might not have been able to.
She
get
should
the
never have
key.
been in the relay part, and
Yeah.
we'll see if how they use her in future competitions from here. But
Xander
Don't-
did that for the yellow. So
Which
like
made no sense. A waste of. I would have said Evie. I guess Evie. She would have been like
oops, sorry.
Tiffany. Tiffany is shooting yourself in the foot. You can't put her. Look, you can't put Tiffany on that ledge, and then complain about how poorly she performed, unless she was saying, "No, guys, I can do it." And I'm like, okay.
Well, that's the part that I would like to know, because how they decide who's going to do what in these challenges, I think, is part of the strategy that gets left out of the edits. And
it should be. It should be in there.
Yeah. Because they
how
put Leanna last because they're like, you're gonna have to make up the time that Tiffany wastes. I'm pretty sure that's the only reason why she was put last.
Because there's no way that doesn't impact social dynamics too. Like who controls or decides who's gonna do what in a challenge like this matters, because that's usually who the leader of the tribe is. And like I bet you the blue tribe, Danny was like, there's no way 3 good athletes are not doing this relay.
Yeah.
He's an NFL player. He's used to competition. He's like, he doesn't care about feelings as far, as I would think, and I think he would just want to win here. And if you watch, the blue tribe dominated, and they're going to continue to dominate.
Let's talk about the power they won in this too, because they finished the puzzle first. So they gained this ability to send somebody from Yasi, and they could send somebody from their own tribe or send somebody from the green tribe, Yua, off to whatever that place is called, that mountain you have to climb out in the middle of wherever, the summit, where you can choose to protect your vote or risk your vote. And so this seems to be something they're going to do every episode. Then, like, they're going to send off people to from different tribes, I guess, to get a chance to connect with one another ahead of any kind of merge or swap. An interesting thing, I like this a little bit more than like the One World version, which was having everybody on the same beach from day one. I think that this is because you don't even know the names of the other people of the people on the other tribes until the merge often, right? Or anything about them, right? Because you're not allowed to talk to each other in like the press phase where you're doing like your press photography for the season and all that stuff. You're grouped together, kind of like we're seeing here. Like, they didn't get to talk to each other here. They don't know each other's names, and then they get put into their colors and their tribes, and then they get to know each other on the beaches over those few days. But I do like this. Now, why do you think that why do you think that the blue tribe, Luvu, chose Evie specifically to go?
Because I think they look at her as a strategic social threat. I think they knew if they took her out of the decision making before tribal as much as possible, that was a good thing.
Yep.
Right.
That's why, I think. And
yet she was never in danger at all.
Nope.
No, but she will be. Like, she's a reckless player, in my opinion, guys. Like, the way she's playing is too cute. There's no way Xander's going to trust her going forward, and if he ends up getting that idol. Or we get some swaps coming, which I kind of hope happens now, because I hope they go into 2 tribes quick, because I don't always love the small tribes. I get other people do, but I prefer like a good 2 10 people tribes type thing, or 2 8 people tribes.
When a tribe of 6 loses 2 members, like they now have in the case of Yasi, it's like, well, what's like, especially if there's only 3 of you left, it's like not really a tribe anymore. It's like more like just a trio.
It's a voting block.
It's a voting block. A trust cluster. Maybe.
Cluster.
Yeah, and so and Luvu chose to send Deshaun as like on this.
He volunteered.
He volunteered.
Like, I want to go.
Do you think that was good for his game or bad for his game?
Very good for his game. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way it didn't hurt him, and it definitely helped him, because if Evie does well in this game, which it kind of looks like she will, Deshaun will have a good
dance
person,
partner.
a good dance partner. So I'm glad I have Deshaun. But Evie, like, she's getting confessional after confessional after confessional after. It's like I feel like I'm watching Russell Hantz again. Like, this is getting crazy. Like, how much she's on the show.
Do you think she's long for this season?
I don't know how she isn't. Like, I mean, and this is one thing I don't like when Survivor does this. Like, when they pick one person to like narrate so much of the show, it's like you're already telling me how far this person's going.
I know her way better than like Leanna, who's from the same tribe, right? So, or even Tiffany, who was featured quite a bit last night.
Not all good.
Yeah, and so this whole they go on the journey, but before we clipped away to that at Campany, Tiffany's like, "I'm sitting pretty, I'm not worried. It's not about competitions." And Jeff, I was like, Jeff's got it like this. It's not just about the competitions; it's about your maneuvering.
I mean, Probst was this close to a dig woman in this tribe,
dig
as he could have been,
because she gave up. She gave up for a period of time where she wasn't moving.
That's right.
Yeah. She just ran out of gas, it seemed like, and but she wasn't. She played it off, although she kind of has these moments at tribal or back at camp where she's just like, "Oh, that wasn't good, eh?" But she also feels like, no, we gotta get out Xander, or later it becomes Vochi. Jane also mentioned Xander has unusually large nipples. I did write it down. Do you guys find that?
Sorry, I wasn't looking at the men's minutes.
I think I did notice it at one point, like when I was watching. Let's see, yeah, I guess a little bit. I don't know.
Not like crazy. Not like like roadside oddity attraction.
They are big. They're definitely big. Yeah. No, he's not a circus freak. We're not going that far here.
No.
Yeah.
Roadside oddity.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, speaking of yellow, Vochi was like, I like this too. He was like, the tribe is on life support. I'm a doctor and I know about life support. So I'm going to build that into my.
No, his analogy was, listen, when you're doing surgery and you cut a main artery and someone dies, there's a review. And I'm like, how many people has this man killed? What's going on? Like,
I've had a lot of reviews. I know how this goes.
Is he Dr. Death?
Yeah.
Is Joshua Jackson going to be playing this man in a few years? What's going on? That's my question.
Oh, there's a lot to say there. I don't know. And Xander cannot vote, so they're like, we need to bring in. They're kind of even like Xander and Vochi are like, we need to get Leanna because Evie's not here right now. She's off with Deshaun at this point. But Leanna is saying, I'm loyal to the girls. I'm loyal to Tiffany. I'm not gonna flip. That's what I want to do. And so I'm like, I at this point I'm going, it's either Vochi or Xander. It has to be, because unless Evie has a complete change of heart when she comes back, which ultimately she doesn't, it doesn't work. But let's go over to the blind date, as they called it. Up on you got to climb that hill, which I love how Deshaun was just like, you got to climb this mountain, this big hill for like 2 hours. It's surreal. It's good. A lot of calories to be burning.
I'm like, wait, I'm climbing up this thing for me to get on the top for you to get one shot, and then I have to come back down and make a decision. Like, can't you use CGI or something?
It just seems like it's just to give them a chance to talk on their way to go to this other thing. That's why they do it. But it's a long trek. Especially like anyway. And when they do this, like both whoever is featured in the first episode, it's those three guys. It was like Danny and Xander. I'm trying to remember who was there for Green. But JD, right? And so, like, I guess they all get a chance to kind of talk about who they are and a little bit of their background. We get to know them a bit more as players or as personalities. And in the case of like Deshaun, he was like, he talks about, I didn't grow up smart, but I'm going to become a doctor now with my 3 Ds. I think it was discovery, determination, and dedication. I think those were the 3 Ds.
Something like that.
It reminds me of
Kurt Angle.
No, the guy that was he was a postman too in the States, but he was that one. I don't know if you have the clip, Dave, but it's like dedication, motivation, like, and he's like cheering on. I think it was in the season again with Mike Holloway.
Probably these are the blue collars.
Yes.
They know they're dedicated.
Oh,
not
man,
those white collars, never dedicated.
And he was like the big D of that season, and.
The one who got the thing and he felt cheated.
Yes.
Sam or no?
No, I forget his name. Here,
Dan. It was Dan.
Dan. Yeah, and he's cheering on. I forget who he was cheering on. I think it was actually, you know who it was? It was the guy from Boston, Rodney.
Yeah, Rodney.
Yeah, he was cheering him on, and it was that.
Rodney's birthday.
It was Rodney's birthday. And it was that challenge where you got to hold on and you keep sweating, and it was just like a drenched, sweated Rodney, and Dan just going, "Come on, you got this! Dedication, motivation, don't give up." And it's just, it just reminded me of that.
Dave,
I don't know. No. Sorry, my survivor database is somewhat needs work to be built up. Not like the Big Brother side. Yeah, like I just thought it was also interesting. Like he's like, I wasn't smart. I'm becoming a doctor. And also Vochi's like, I wasn't a good student either. He's a neurosurgeon, but he's like, they kind of said the same thing. Those guys, they're like, in Deshaun's case, trying to become a doctor, in Vochi's case, already a doctor, but saying like, we really just hard work.
It's not like before where smart people became doctors. Nowadays, smart people make money on like side hustles and investments and other things, and now people with the determination are the ones that kind of
3Ds?
push through. I only subscribe to the 3 eyes.
Oh, 3 eyes. Okay, but Deshaun also starts with a D. I feel like it's 4 Ds for Deshaun.
Well, maybe he wanted to testify like the Dudleys.
Maybe. And okay, what did you guys think about Evie telling Deshaun all this information? And I thought it was kind of smart because she was saying like, I'm giving away Xander's information. I'm not really even giving away my information.
She is giving up information. Right? Deshaun knows where the leak is.
Right.
Because she just turned on and just everything just came out.
Yeah, this yellow tribe doesn't know anything about keeping cards close to the chest. It's what do you want to know? Here you go.
They're all very open.
Why are you creating a scenario where Xander has tools that could work? Because right now he's kind of out of the game. He's just the body that's helping you through challenges. But now you're possibly putting him in a position to have actual power, have actual elements. Wouldn't you have made sure that you can vote him out so you can find it and you have that control? Like it just seemed like let's say Xander was voted out. At that point, you know what phrases are going to come up. So if no one else says it, you know that no one else has the thing. You have an idol that you know where it's sitting, because you let's say you take the time to find it, right? And you're just waiting for the other 2 people to say the phrases, and then you go and get it because you know the next time around you have an actual idol, as opposed to, well, I'm gonna give them the information, so maybe by the next challenge, he does actually have an idol, and I can vote this dude out, and I'm screwed.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Like, this was the opportunity, and I think that that's when Evie does get back to the camp eventually. And she basically, she's like, I already know how this protect your vote works because Xander already told me everything how it worked. Right?
The paper.
He showed it. Yeah, he showed her the paper, and I think did Danny also tell Deshaun and them when he came back to Blue Tribe? Because my recollection of the first episode was that everybody who went to that summit, JD, Danny, and Xander, like they all kind of came back and told their tribes what.
Not Xander.
Not Xander.
Because remember, he revealed that he got the extra vote when he revealed that
just in this episode.
Yeah,
so nobody knew. Episode. Nobody knew before this episode. Correct. What? Right, but he obviously did tell her everything eventually, and that's how she's able to, so Deshaun, I don't know if he understood how it worked or not, but she's like, I'll protect mine, you risk yours, and you'll get the advantage, and this will pay off later. You'll thank me, like I'll cash in this favor later. And that seems to work for both of them in this situation. And then, she eventually does get back to camp.
But there's no collateral that she's getting back in return.
I think it's just the like, hey, I scratched your back now, you scratch my back later.
Sure.
But you wouldn't count it. I don't like Deshaun doesn't owe her anything. I think she's just hoping the gesture will sort of help her down the road. Will or not, I don't know. I probably not. You're right. It only does make her a bigger target because she's kind of like making big swings here early, and she already clearly has a profile with the other tribes because they're, she wears like rainbow shorts. I think that makes her stand out, and but I think it's also just that she's kind of got this presence. Like she's clearly smart. Clearly is got
She has the glasses on.
yeah. Well, the glasses help, but it's also just the way she just like, you can see it in her eyes. Like she's just got like this intelligence behind the eyes. So.
I think she's a reckless player in a lot of ways, guys. I think she's going to get herself voted out in a weird way, like a way where she thinks she's being smart, and everyone's going to go, "You get a load of her." I don't know. That's how I take her. But I said the same thing about Tiffany at the beginning of Big Brother, and it did happen, but it took a bit. It took a bit for that to occur.
On that note, let's talk about this Tiffany Seeley from the Yasi tribe, because she was freaking out when Evie did get back to Yasi tribe, saying we got to get out Vochi. And like Evie gives us this diary room where she's like, I don't know who I want to work with. Actually, I'm kind of caught in the middle, and this is kind of a crossroads where I could go with Vochi and Xander, or I could kind of go from her standpoint with Tiffany and Leanna, and I have to sort of make the choice here. But Xander has no vote. So I would have to get Leanna to vote with me here. So basically, I'd have to choose to keep Vochi or Xander over Tiffany. And she ultimately decides just to vote out Vochi. And that's what the tribe does. She talked... Right.
Like again, like you talk about like intelligence, and I think it's just common sense. Like if Xander had not told Vochi and Evie about what happened, like the fact that he doesn't have a vote, or the fact that he like the idol stuff, none of it. I think Tiffany goes home at this tribal council, guys. Like I really do, because I think Evie wouldn't have had all the chess pieces and been able to figure out what to do. Like, it was one dumb mistake from Xander that really allowed Evie to be smart. She just, you know what I mean? Like,
she used that information and then got him out. So really, can Vochi blame it on Tiffany, or can Vochi blame it on Xander?
Vochi should blame it on both, but more on Evie, really. I mean, actually, than all those people. Evie was the one that kind of backstabbed him.
Right. Did he know he didn't know it was coming, David?
Didn't seem like it.
Vochi, as he goes by. But what about Xander? Was he blindsided here?
I think so, yeah. And I think, like, again, like, how, if you were Xander, are you going to trust anything Evie tells you? Like, honestly?
Not now. I can't imagine now. But, when they get back to tribal, like, we couldn't tell you because you were such bros with Vochi or whatever. But I don't know.
I wouldn't trust it. I'd be like, oh, really? I'd be like, and then I would start talking to Tiffany, because she's the one who's going to spill the beans the quickest. And I'd be like, what's going on here? And I'd try to figure out what's going on from Tiffany if I was Xander. He's not going to do that. I don't think he's a savvy player. But, I mean, they often cast this character on Survivor, and I'm kind of tired of it. Like, I'm tired of this character.
Who would you compare him to in past seasons?
Oh, there's so many of them. Like there's Joe Anglim, but like, he's smarter than this guy. There's what was that guy on Jay on Millennials versus Gen X? Like there's like literally I could go through every season and there's somebody like this Xander guy.
Ozzy? Would you compare him to Ozzy?
No. Ozzy was a smart player, I would say. Like
athletic, like maybe even good looking, gets along with the other tribe members, young, but maybe not a gamer, not a strategist, way too thinks it's more about the physical challenges than the social game.
I guess at this specific point of the game.
Right. Yeah, like just kind of like he says he's a fan, right?
Who was that guy, that Taylor guy, Dave, from a few seasons ago too? Like he reminds me of that guy actually the most. Of like he was with that girl too. What was her name? I forget. It was like a showmance that was like budding on Survivor, but then they took them out. I think it was also Millennials versus Gen X. There was 2 on that season. Like it just I don't know. You're right, Jaemeel. They go after a certain demographic, but they don't make for good game players, and
Correct.
it makes for kind of like dumb mistakes like this. And it's just like, if I was playing the game, I would be happy. I'd be like, if I was an Eevee, I'd be like, perfect, give me all the information. Boom.
Yeah,
Backstab
like,
you,
would you think that Xander can learn a lesson from this and maybe rebound in the game?
Well, I think he's screwed. Like, I mean, unless he can convince Tiffany to kind of flip on the girls and then make it 2-2, but even then he has to vote. And like he needs a tribe swap desperately, or he's going home.
Yeah. Do you think we're getting tribe swap next week?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't
Nope.
think so. Maybe
I don't
one
think
more.
so.
One
I
more.
think we're gonna evac.
So yeah. So Yellow's gonna have to win, or an evac's gonna have to happen for Xander to survive.
Do you guys watch the preview for next week?
Yes.
Was it like Brad was featured quite a bit? Like Brad getting into conflict with some members of his tribe? Is that?
I feel like Brad and Tiffany were on the same tribe. That would be bad news. I think like you know what I mean. Like I think they're both kind of paranoid game players, and I think they need to both like chill out. It's like day 3 or 4, or whatever it is.
Close in age, those two.
And it's and they just I think they just both like they're their own worst enemy. Like we see this with a lot of older type players. I think it happens where they get out there and they kind of, especially this season, there's no food, guys. I mean, we're not bringing that up enough, but they really have no food. And I think
Survivor.
I enjoy it.
Catch food.
You can catch food. Like that's why they're giving them fishing gear and all this stuff. But plus, there's like crabs everywhere.
And
now, if you don't have fire, it's hard. And there's coconuts and there's fruit. Like like,
that breadfruit that Nasir chopped down to Dave. I've had that before. They have it in Grenada, and it is like basically the starchiest. It's like a giant potato.
Yeah,
that grows in a tree, like Jaemeel probably knows because of Trinidad. But it's no,
you know
I'm joking.
You know about breadfruit, right?
I do know about breadfruit.
It is like Grenada. It's like their national dish is to cook the breadfruit. That's why I know what it is, and it is like one of they basically brought it from I believe Indonesia because it was used because it's so filling. They used it to feed the slaves many hundreds of years ago, and that's why it's very filling. So like when you eat it, you're just like it's like eating Chinese food. You're
super
like,
hard. It's super high in sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not super, but it's somewhat high. It's mostly carbohydrate, a lot of water, and some good vitamins and minerals and different nutrients involved. But
tastes like potato in a lot of ways. But it's so like if they have stuff like breadfruit, then they'll be okay. But that's more filling than rice. But
if you're especially if you're like kind of used to being a certain level of full and you don't have like that. I get the breadfruit would probably help give you your starch, but I think like it's interesting to see like how the lack of food I think is making this more interesting to watch on TV too. Versus when like even like I've noticed that they're not even like shaving their underarms and stuff this season, right? Like it might be a minor thing to notice, but I feel like in the past like they've taken care of the castaways or they've made sure that they don't go. Who knows what we don't see, but that this is a little less pampering than maybe they talked about in the first season. They gave them canned food. Wasn't mentioned in the first episode. Even Survivor 1 wasn't like this. I feel like there have been seasons where they have given them very little food, and like like Australia, I think was a famous one. They're like, if you don't give us any food, then the monkeys aren't going to dance, as Tina said. We're not going to perform for you. Mm-hmm. So it's like I don't know, but on the other hand, when people are like this reason they have nots on Big Brother is in theory is that so people get like their blood sugar a little bit lower and they get a little crankier, and then you get some good TV, right? Okay, so I just want to do a quick we can wrap up for tonight, and you guys will be talking about the episode next week, episode 3. I just wanted to update our little order here and note that Jaemeel has lost Vochi, but we also Abraham and Sarah were voted out in episode 1. So just in terms of our ongoing tally here, Daryl, who had the first pick, and Daryl and Jaemeel have 3 people in this draft. And so Daryl still has Danny, Xander, and Rickard. That's an interesting combo. You've lost Vachi, Jaemeel, the third voted out, day 5. But Jeannie and Heather remain. Who do you feel good about in these two? Jeannie, I would agree. Heather doesn't seem like too impressive. Jen's got Tiffany and Leanna. Interesting that those two are a duo now, seemingly, at least for the moment. Maybe with Evie. Sean, he lost Abraham in the first episode. He just has Sydney left. I don't like that Sydney too much. He's not my kind of person. And then Jane has JD. She lost Sarah. Amanda has Brad and Evie. Jeff, how's Amanda feeling about Brad?
Not great, not awesome. Like, I think she thinks he's a little eccentric, which I think we all kind of agree on. And then I think Evie's her ace in the hole. Let's face it, that's who she's going for.
Right. Do you think that Brad could be like a Tony character? Do you think he could become?
No, stop comparing him to Tony. He's not. All right. Just because he runs around doesn't mean he's Tony.
And hides. He creates hiding spots.
Yep. He's a Tony. Maybe they show. I feel like he's a recruit. Honest to God, like I feel like he's never watched Survivor, and they were like, "This guy's weird. Let's put him on the show." You know, like that's that's the vibe I get from him, and I don't think he'll be anywhere near kind of what Tony did. But maybe I'm wrong. But you know what? At first, when I saw Tony, I was like, "This guy's weird. I don't know how well he's gonna do," and then he ended up doing what he did. You know, so.
Yeah, well, if Brad climbs a tree and tries to get a breadfruit down and he calls it a papaya, would that make him Tony?
We'll climb up and simply pick the papayas off the tree, simply walk down the ladder, simply go to camp, chop it up, and simply eat it. Simple as that.
That's the great thing about Tony is he's a character of a person, like, you know, and this Brad guy, I just think he's like super serious. Don't you guys feel that way? Like he's just kind of like this, I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's just an intense guy.
Intense guy. Not a lot of fun loving coming out of him, right?
Right. Okay, let's just talk about Erica and Deshaun, who are Jeff's picks, both of the Luvu tribe. I think Deshaun had a great episode, this one, Jeff. So, and Erica, not seen too much in this one.
Purple Erica tonight.
Purple Erica, but she was in the first episode a bit more. But, that doesn't necessarily mean she's doing bad. She just wasn't. She didn't get a lot this night. And then, of course, the two chosen ones, Shan and Nasir, for me. Shan with that whole ratting out of Brad, I didn't like that too much. But if I was Brad, but I'm not Brad, so maybe I'm okay with it. If it feels in the game, and Nasir, you watch, he's making the merge. I can feel it. People, they realize that they need him to start fire, get food, do other things. Voting him out is not necessarily in their best interests, and I do like that as a consideration in the game, because I think that the fact that they have given them food and more, like, I think comforts, maybe more off-screen comforts in the past, is making them kind of go, maybe we shouldn't vote out so and so because they catch fish for us or they do whatever.
Especially this season, because there's no rice, and there's I like that. I hated the fact that they were like, well, this guy's great at this, but let's take him out because I'm getting enough rice, you know?
Yeah, I'm hungry, but I'm not. If I go a day or two without fire or whatever,
I just got to get to the rewards. Usually, is what they think, you know. Just get to the rewards when they give you food, and I'll be okay. You know, but now I like this. I hope they don't give them any food rewards until like late in the merge. You know, like other than the merge feast, they give them that, but like no food rewards, you know, make them, because it's 26 days. Like if you can't make it 26 days with little food, I mean, this is not Survivor, you know, it's a resort vacation.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah. And so like, hey, go, if you're going to be shipwrecked, you know, and also have this TV show going. Okay, so that's it for tonight, Jaemeel. I think we need to get to bed and call it a night.
Look, folks, I'm sorry, I'm running on fumes.
I know you are. I know you. You've had a very long week. We had you up till 1 a.m. talking Big Brother finale, and here we are.
1 hour sleep, baby. 1 hour sleep.
Yeah. So let's we've said everything we need to say about this episode of Survivor. Juggling chainsaws, as Xander said. Sometimes I'm waiting for like when these titles are going to come out, and it came right at the travel here. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. I'll be out next week, but these guys will be talking about the episode, whatever it's going to be called, the third episode on next Wednesday
Bright-eyed
night.
and bushy tails.
Bright-eyed and bushy tails. We are done, Big Brother. So
I'll be starting my vacation, which means my vacation is more time to watch the show and to sleep.
yes,
Hey.
all important things, very important things.
Yes.
Okay. And we're gonna leave you with some Jeff Probst talking about. Do you guys want Outback steak or do you want all the fixins?
Whatever you got.
Outbound steak. Outbound.
All right. That's good.
Wood, fire grilled, Outback steak. Plus the brand new Outback Steakhouse Margarita, the grilled pineapple Rita.
That's a good one. Have a good night, everybody.
Take care.